The following is a paid political announcement.
Lifelong Democrat Diana Florence served for 25 years as a Manhattan prosecutor under DA Robert Morgenthau. She put criminals away, stood up for victims, and protected our streets. Now, Diana is challenging failed Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg as an independent because it's time for a DA who fights for our families, not criminals. That's why Diana has won the support of organized labor like the steam fitters, plumbers, and ironworkers, everyday New Yorkers who want a DA they can trust. Manhattan needs a DA who will do the job, prosecute crime. That's Diana Florence. Under Alvin Bragg, crime is up and prosecutions are down. Bragg doesn't prosecute crime. He plays partisan politics. Bragg failed to protect women and failed to protect workers. As a prosecutor, Diana Florence won groundbreaking convictions, fighting against corruption, domestic violence, wage theft, and daily working conditions. She's always been a partner of unions, community groups, and to cops like us. For Manhattan District Attorney, vote for Diana Florence. Diana4DA.com. Paid for by Diana for Manhattan DA.
John Sterling is the father of sports talk radio since the early days at WMCA. To the voice of the team from the Bronx from 1989 to 2024. Some of those years on WABC. Sterling called 5,060 consecutive baseball games.
Yankees win!
And today, John Sterling is on the air on 77 WABC. This is the John Sterling Show. Now, here's John Sterling.
It's a nice introduction. It goes on a little bit. Good afternoon, everyone. Great to be here. You know I love it. Every Saturday afternoon, 4 to 5 here at 77. We're going to talk a lot about the Yankees in baseball as we're just about ready to enter the championship series. There's one more game tonight. The Cubs play in Milwaukee, and the winner will play Los Angeles. In the American League, it's Seattle and Toronto. Boy, it's a long flight. Whoa, is that a long flight. And if they go 7 games, they go back and forth about 3 times. But I'm going to begin by talking about the Giants, who had a phenomenal win against Philadelphia. I thought, like many other people, Philadelphia would win by a couple touchdowns. Anyway, the Giants played great, and in particular, their rookie quarterback, Jackson Dart. He really has talent. Now, we have to see if he can, throw the ball the way the great ones do. We have to see if he can take a team with 2 minutes remaining at the 20-yard line and drive that team for the winning score. However, he has talent. I mean, it's so easy to see it. He has escapability, and he looks like he's in charge, even though he's a rookie. So the Giants played great. Dart and the rookie running back, Scadaboo, were terrific. But there's more. So at one point during the game, Dart had to go into the blue tent. They want to check about if there was anything happening with Dart after he got decked on the field. And something that should not have happened. But I think I can tell you why. Brian Daboll, the head coach of the Giants, looked in the tent. He put his head in the tent. You're not supposed to do that, especially if you're the coach. But I can tell you why. You've seen on the sidelines, if you're a football fan and watch the Giant games, you see Daboll go over to Dart and hug him and put his head on his shoulder, and unbelievably so. Well, I can tell you why he went into the blue tent. I can tell you why he hugs him so fiercely and lovingly on the sidelines. This guy is saving Daboll's job. Of course he wants the best for him. Of course he's going to hug him. Of course he's going to go in the blue tent and see if everything is okay. And he apologized. He's going to get fined. John Mara knocked it in the newspapers today. But that's why this guy, Jackson Dart, is saving his job. He, believe me, if they had lost the last few games, he might not even have a job. So anyway, let me stick up for Brian Daboll. That's why he looked in the tent, and that's why he hugs him so fiercely. Well, let me say it is high. It is far. It is crystal clear. Hear every moment with Phonak Lyric, where better hearing hits it out of the park. Phonak Lyric. I'm wearing one now. Go see Dr. Shelley today at NYC Hearing. That's New York City Hearing, and hear the world again. It's great. The commercial that I do says everything. You wear it all the time. You can turn it on and off easily. Look, I can do it, and I have no mechanical ability at all. If I can do it, anyone can do it. It turns on and off in less than a second. And what more can I say? It's really fabulous. Our first guest is coming up, and we're going to get to that first guest in a moment when we return from these messages on 77 WABC.
77 scores again.
This is the John Sterling Show. Now, here's John Sterling.
Well, you heard the show before me. David Patterson and James Flippin both said, Yankees lose. Ah! Yankees lose. Well, I love it, and that's been going on for as long as I've been doing Yankees win. You know, I go out of a stadium, and there are kids waiting, or grown-ups waiting, too, for autographs or whatever. And whenever the Yankees lose a game, some brilliant person says, Yankees lose. Yankees. Anyway, I was you're not going to believe what I'm going to say, but I'm going to say it. Now, I was very pleased by the Yankee year. Now, you say, wait a minute. You glad they lost to Toronto? Of course not. I think they had a chance to go all the way. I don't think Seattle's a great team. I don't think Toronto's a great team. And on. Detroit, I don't think any of them are. But the reason why I love this Yankee year, well, first of all, it's the first year that I've been retired and didn't do any games. And but the Yankees, I thought, had a terrific year. Are they a great team? No. Do they have problems? You bet. But first of all, they finished in tie with Toronto for the best record in the American League. And they also saw so many young players begin to come into their own. All the guys who Cody Bellinger hit 29 home runs. So let's give him, I round things off. Oh, he hits 30. And Jazz Chisholm hits 34. And Trent Grisham hits 33 or 34. I don't have to tell you about Judge. Had as great a year as you could possibly have. And then all the other guys who hit over 20 home runs. So they produced a lot of very good young players. And that's one reason why I liked it. Secondly, they played the whole year without their number one pitcher, Garrett Cole. It was tough to overcome that. Well, Garrett Cole is going to come back next year, we hope early in the year, and he's going to join Max Fried and Carlos Rodon and Cam Schlittler, who I think is a terrific young pitcher. How could you not think that? And then they have Will Warren and Jose Heel. So they have a lot of starting pitching. Now, you can say, John, they've got to do something about the bullpen. Boy, you know it. You keep Bednar, that's for sure. And then everyone else is up for grabs. They might sign him if they like him. They might look – they are going to look elsewhere. And they have to repair the bullpen. And if they do that, I loved getting Ryan McMahon. I had said on this show before they got him that I want that guy to play third. He's a terrific third baseman. Kind of reminds you of Greg Nettles a little bit. and he's got to hit more. And if he does that, the Yankees have a heck of a third baseman. I know there are a lot of questions about Volpe. And, normally I have answers. Doesn't mean I'm right, but I give answers. I don't know what to tell about Volpe. I'd like to see Volpe cut down on a swing. And when he when he gets his pitch, he can swing as hard as he wants. He has home run power. He hit 20 homers again this year. But he also, at other times, when he can't handle the pitch, when it's not there for him to swing and hit it deep, he's got to learn how to swing inside out and use right field. First of all, in Yankee Stadium, if he uses right field, that ball will go into the seats a lot of times. So Jazz Chisholm, I think, is terrific and something the Yankees needed. He's a little wild, does little crazy things, but when you go 30-30, when you hit more than 30 home runs, and when you steal more than 30 bases, that's pretty terrific. And he's a pretty good second baseman. Every now and then he does something wild. At first base was their biggest find, as Ben Rice hit over 30 home runs. You hit 30 home runs in the major leagues, that's pretty darn good. And so you put all those people together, the starting pitching and all the homer hitters, and if you're wondering, I know Trent Grisham is a free agent. I want to sign him. He's a terrific center fielder. Obviously, they have to sign Bellinger, and they're going to get a lot of competition on Bellinger because he's a terrific all-around player, and he helped the Yankees everywhere, playing left field, center field, right field, first base, playing them all beautifully. And look at his numbers. He came this close to hitting 30 homers and this close to driving in 100 runs. So that's now you know it. I think they have to shore up the bullpen. They have to change the bullpen. They have a lot of work to do in putting together a bullpen. But outside of that, I think they're going to have a pretty good team. I think they have pretty good players at almost every spot. I know they have to decide on what they want to do with Volpe. But, Volpe does a lot of things right. The only thing is he can't hit 200 or 210 or whatever he hits. He got to get base hits. Now, as I said on the show, the launch angle screwed up baseball more than anything, and that's why the averages are the way they are. They're so weak. So anyway, that's some of my thoughts on the Yanks. And if you're wondering, if you say, well, how about some of your thoughts on the Mets? First of all, I sound foolish when I say this. When the Mets line up Lindor, Soto, Alonso, Nimmo, Marte, and McNeil, I'd like somebody to tell me who's a bad hitter of those six. That's pretty good to have six hitters like that. And they're left-right. The balance is perfect. And then the kids that they have, Mauricio we didn't see a lot of. Beatty should be their third baseman. He's a 30-homer kind of guy. I think he hit in the teens this year and didn't play all the time. Alvarez has at one point hit 25 home runs in the major leagues. He has tremendous power. And the other guy is Vientos. Do you know Vientos a couple of years ago hit 27 home runs 1 year? He didn't play every day. Last year he didn't do as well, but you can tell that he's a good hitter and hit for great power. So you went, okay, then why did the Mets fail so badly? Well, like the Yankees, they also have a terrible bullpen. but they do have a closer. Diaz, although he can be a free agent, he can opt out. But Diaz is an awfully good pitcher. Now, the rest of the bullpen needs help. And I'd say with the starting pitching, they have to go out and get some starters, one or two, and hope that Senga and Peterson, they're really good pitchers, and were bad in the second half of the year. I hope they turn that around. So You know, when I looked at the Yankees, I like hitting. I'm an offensive guy. I don't mean to be offensive, but I like offense in all sports. Yeah, football, I want to see the ball in the air 50 times. So that in all sports. So obviously I'm seduced by the Yankees and Mets because they both have really good hitting teams. And that's why I thought they were probably better than they were. Certainly the Mets. The Mets are, you know, I looked at down the stretch when they had to fight off Cincinnati. They didn't do it. I mean, it was their fault. They lost games. They lost games to Washington and Miami, not just Cincinnati. And they are so much better. Now, again, I'm only talking about offense, which is my problem. You know, I did the Atlanta Hawks for years and years and years, and for a period of the time, Mike Fratello was the coach. You know, we would talk, and one time Fratello said to me, "Oh, you only see offense," and he's right. I only see offense, and you can't compare the Mets with Cincinnati. Yeah, Mets is so much better. You have to have pitching, too, and you have to have a bullpen. Nowadays, since they don't let starters go more than 5 or 6 innings, including last night where they couldn't touch Tariq Skubal, and they took him out after 6 innings. That's the way baseball's played, not like the old days, John. And I've got to come to grips with that, I think. But anyway, I think the Yankees and Mets both have a lot of players. If they make the right moves this offseason, they will be, again, pennant contenders. Because the Yankees, you have to give them credit. They're always pennant contenders. You know, one of the luckiest things when they finally get good, I got here in 89. When they finally got good in 94, that's when that stupid strike occurred, and they had the best record in the American League by a lot. They were, I think, leading by 6.5 games. They've been basically in the playoffs every year. Now, 94 to now is 31 years, right? Yeah, 31 years. I bet they've been in the playoffs 31 years. I bet they've been in the playoffs 26 to 27 times. And because of their play, I was able to broadcast. Let's see, we won 4. I broadcast 7 World Series, 2 perfect games, and 5 series winners. Gee, maybe they played 8 times in the World Series. Well, that's that. We're going to go on to other things, and we have guests galore, but he's not there yet, right? Okay. Well, I was going to do this, but I have to do this leading in. Yeah, so, okay. Well, I thought of this, and I hope you're going to enjoy this recitation because of the Giants. I've been meaning to do this, and now without Wally Matthews is supposed to be here, I'll tell you about the Giants. This occurred in 1958. I know that many of you are saying 1958, the Dark Ages, the Stone Age. But no, it was life as usual, and the Giants trailed the Cleveland Browns by a game in the East. And the final game of the year for the Giants was against the Cleveland Browns at Yankee Stadium. So they had to stay one game. Yes. They had to stay at least one game behind. So they're playing in Detroit. And the Giants have a lead. Maybe it was a 1-point lead. Had to be. Or a 2-point lead. And Detroit drove all the way downfield. Now remember, this is, oh yeah? He's late. Now, this thing goes on so long. Remember where I left off. And I will resume this. I'll resume it soon. It's a good long story, and it goes through a lot of games and pretty exciting stuff. Well, we are now going to go to the 77 WABC ActionKarting.com phone line. New York City's premier waste and recycling provider. A top-notch writer is Wally Matthews. He's written books. He's written for just about every newspaper in the New York area, and he's on the end of this line. Hello, Wally. How you doing?
John, first of all, let me apologize for being late. I may be a top-notch, whatever you said, but I'm a terrible phone answerer. So I just didn't hear the phone ring. I'm so sorry. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing fine. You didn't hear the phone ring?
Yeah, because I always have my phone on silent like an idiot.
Oh.
So I have to see it.
See,
anyway.
I don't have that kind of phone.
All you wish. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know where silent is on my phone.
I'm so glad to talk to you,
now,
man.
I turn it off.
So glad to hear you.
I turn it off late at night.
There you go.
Okay. So there. Well, I've just been talking about the Yanks. What did you think of the Yankee season, and what did you think of their loss to Toronto?
Well, first of all, it was a strange season because they looked unbeatable early. Then they looked very beatable, right, for the middle of the season. Then at the end, they got hot again. And I actually thought, and I had said this about a week ago in the season, I said to some friends of mine, I think they have an outside shot to win this division. And we know they ended in a dead tie with Toronto. So on the whole, I thought the regular season was, I guess, a success. I guess. I mean, they looked very good at times. Obviously, losing Garrett Cole way back in the beginning was a huge blow, and that might have made a difference here. But to take you to game 4, I was shocked. I thought after the way they abused the Toronto bullpen in Game 3, that now we got a bullpen game in Game 4 in Yankee Stadium. I thought for sure they're heading back to Toronto. So I was kind of surprised. But, look, the team has some flaws. It's very good. Team has some flaws. Obviously, there were some big mistakes made in the game that cost them the game in Game 4. But I just don't understand all the panic and people calling for Boone to be fired and Cashman to be fired and this one and that one. I just think it's crazy. I mean, Toronto's a very good team. I don't think there's any doubt that Toronto, the Blue Jays, have a real good shot of winning the World Series.
Well, I agree. I said the same thing before you came on, Wally, that I wasn't upset at the Yankee year at all because so many young players came through and hit unbelievably, and they were without Garrett Cole. I think Garrett Cole would have won one game, and the Yankees would have beaten. And
the other thing, I think Max Fried was gassed by the
yeah, I guess so. But they're going to have a great starting staff next year with Garrett Cole and Fried and Rodon and Schlittler, and then we'll see.
Oh, is he something else, in Game 3?
Oh, he was terrific, and he's got great stuff and poise. He's going to be very, very good.
Yeah.
But you'd have to say they have to work on their bullpen.
Without a doubt. And there's some other problems too. I mean, I think there are problems with Volpe. I think he's got to be straightened out. Obviously, he shows flashes of being, the potential to be a very good player. And at other times, you're like, man, they got to sit this guy down. The other guy that I love watching him play, but he makes a lot of mistakes, and that's Jazz Chisholm.
He gets a little excited, right?
Yeah, he does. I think he gets a little too emotional out there, and I love the fact that he's really enthusiastic, and I like to watch him play. But there's got to be like a happy medium. I thought. Now I don't know if you thought this, but I thought on the error he made on the double play, I thought he might have been screened momentarily by the umpire. If you recall, the umpire had to kind of jump out of the way of the ball, and it was a one hopper. And that, it's a bang play, and he's a major league player and should have made it. No excuses, but I think that there might be a little explanation there.
I think he gets a little excited. I thought that of Kiner-Falefa, that he rushed, and I think that of Volpe. I think Volpe ought to just take a split second and then make the play. I think he rushes too much.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And the other thing that I really, and I was screaming at my TV set at this point, when they had second and third with 2 outs, I think in the 8th inning, Austin Wells came up. The relief pitcher had just walked the previous batter. He swung at the first pitch, which was like up around his eyes, and popped out. I thought, like, you've got to have a little patience there. Make the guy pitch, all right? He just walked the guy before. This is a borderline pitch. Don't jump on it, right? I mean, show some patience. But I kind of felt like he was trying to win the game with one swing. I don't know what he was trying to do there.
Well, I kind of agree with you when I see that happen, where they walk 2 or 3 guys and the next guy swings at the first pitch. You want to
make him prove he can throw a strike.
Yeah, because a lot of pitchers don't want to throw strikes. They want to throw off the plate. I see that all the time.
They want you to chase, and he played right into their hands there.
Yeah.
So that was a disappointment. I mean, I must say, Game 4 is a disappointment. I'm not saying it would have been different. If they had gone back to Toronto, where they played horribly all year, probably would have lost that game anyway. But I would have liked to see a Game 5.
Well, you'd like to see him get the chance.
Yeah,
and
exactly
I thought
right.
too. I don't know if Chisholm was screened, but that was an easy double play. If he catches the ball.
Yeah, it was a tailor-made ball. But if you take a look at the replay, it looked like the umpire crossed in front of him real quick. And, still, like I said, it's not an excuse. You got to make the play. But it might have just thrown him off for a split second.
Now, the Cubs play Milwaukee tonight in Milwaukee. You'd have to admit that Milwaukee does more with less than any other team in the major leagues. I mean, they had the best record, and they obviously did not have the highest payroll.
No. You know what? Dollars don't always translate to wins, do they?
No.
You can buy performance, but you can't buy results. You can spend a lot of money on guys who put up big numbers. Does not mean you're going to win enough games. So I like it when teams like Milwaukee, show that you don't have to spend $300 million.
Oh, that is amazing.
That being said, I still think the Dodgers are the best team left. And then what are they spending, like $500 million?
Right. Well, they certainly have the right names. And now that Will Smith came back, when they put up their great hitters, and then Teoscar and Will Smith and Max Muncy, they also have, like the Mets, they have 6 pretty good hitters too.
I know, there's very few weak spots in that lineup. I really like watching them play. And I feel the same way about Toronto. I think they're pretty strong up and down.
Well, we're going to find out. I mentioned kiddingly that, boy, that is some trip. I'm glad I don't have to make that Toronto to Seattle. And then Seattle back to Toronto. That's a lot of flying.
I love both cities, but yeah, it's the in between time. It's getting from one to the other. That's the tough
it's flying over the rest of the country. So, well, Wally, thank you for coming on. The next time you have to be on time.
I promise.
You have to hear the phone, because I guarantee you will be on the show again. So
don't ghost me. Don't ghost me because of this. All right, keep me on the list.
No.
Right?
No.
John, I'm so happy to hear you on the radio. I must say. Really missed you all season.
Well, this is a kick to do this. I think that's my speed. 1 day a week and 1 hour show. But anyway,
sounds like my speed too.
Yeah,
that's very good.
Come back soon, okay?
I will. Let's have dinner together. All right.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Be well.
One thing. Happy birthday to your daughter, because she's going to be 25.
Yes, tomorrow. In fact, she's having a party tonight, and she's kicking Mom and Dad out of the house.
Oh, wow. Well, we're having a big dinner up in Westchester, because my trips are 25 years old today.
Wow. Congratulations.
We had babies at the same time.
Yes, we did. You know what? We should have put all 4 of them together, and then I wouldn't have to leave my house tonight.
Right.
Oh, well.
Anyway,
that's part of being a dad.
Anyway, thank you for being here, and we'll talk to you soon, okay?
All right, John. You be well, man.
Thank you, Wally.
Bye-bye.
Wally, by golly. I'm going to take a break, Jonas. It's a thing about me. I just have that desire to take a break. I can't wait. and then, after these messages, we shall return with more of the Sterling Show on this Saturday afternoon here on 77 WABC.
You'll win Let's go with 77 WABC.
This is the John Sterling Show. Now, here's John Sterling.
And we go to the 77 WABC ActionCarting.com phone line, New York City's premier waste and recycling provider. Here is really one of my best friends on the Yankees. He's been on the Yankee beat for many years. He writes for the Bergen Record, and he does one other thing. You know what that is? He sings like Sinatra and works. So we're going to get to that. He's Pete Caldera. Hello, Peter.
Hello, John. How are you?
I'm good. Everything's good.
Thank you for that great introduction. By the way, no one can sing that like Sinatra. We can only attempt to approximate it, and that's about it. And I'll be satisfied with that.
You know, I've heard. First of all, Sinatra and Dean Martin and Sammy called Vic Damone the voice. And I've heard that Vic Damone could imitate Sinatra. It's very tough to get Sinatra, you get that sound. And I've heard from many people that Damone could do it. Unfortunately, he's passed on, so we won't be able to hear him do it. Why don't you tell everyone where you sing, when you sing, and what do you sing?
Well, I've been lucky to sing at the Carnegie Club usually once a month on a Friday, and because there'll be no Yankee World Series, the last Friday in October I'll be at the Carnegie Club with a small band, and then on Saturdays they do a regular Sinatra show with a fellow named Stephen Magley, who's been doing that show for 20 years with an 11-piece orchestra. And on the occasions where Stephen can't make it and I'm available, I fill in for him on that show, and it's so much fun because it's all as you know, the great Billy May and Nelson Riddle arrangements of all the great Sinatra hits you know from the 50s and 60s, and it's a lot of fun. It's a whole lot of fun.
Well, I've always thought that one of Sinatra's great abilities, he had a lot of abilities, and it all came from him. He didn't take any lessons. No. He didn't learn how to be an actor. He just had the ability. It just came out. But one thing Sinatra did, Peter, and I'm sure you agree with this, he had such a good ear that the riffs, the arrangements, the charts were all great. And he's different from a lot of singers who didn't spend time putting that together, and he did, and that's why when Sinatra fans listen to Sinatra, they not only know the songs and the words, but they know the charts. Kind of amazing. Yeah,
had that great instinct, and you know the respect for the lyric stood out among everything, and the fact that he worked with the best arrangers, selected the best songs. And that he could equally do a ballad as well as he could do a swing number, which is an amazing capacity in itself. And to have the equipment he was blessed to have, that voice and that timing and that phrasing, that all equals a legend.
Well, it does. And when you hear a song, you can tell how great everything is. He's obviously great. The music he picked is great. And then, as I say, the arrangements were terrific. Some thoughts. Let's skip to baseball. Some thoughts of yours on the Yankee season, which ended prematurely with the loss to Toronto.
Yeah, I'm reminded of the fact that, as long as you've been doing it, you forget how long a baseball season is, and you catch yourself in thinking certain things are going to happen, and then weeks later it all changes. You started the season out with Garrett Cole on the IL for the whole year, and then you're thinking, how's their starting pitching going to rebound? And of course, Max Fried pitches like an ace. Carlos Rodon has his best year in pinstripes. Late in the year, even though they lose Clark Schmidt to the same injury Cole had, they find Cam Schlittler at the end, and they go into the postseason with a pretty solid rotation. And then you run up against a team like the Toronto Blue Jays, where I thought that was going to be their biggest challenge until they got to the World Series, if they were able to get there. And the Blue Jays did what the Blue Jays do, and what we saw them do to the Yankees in Toronto, not only in the regular season, but in the 2 postseason games, which is to relentlessly put the ball in play, pitch enough, and just have guys like Vlad Jr., who steps up at the right magic moment and puts a devastating hit on him. It was such a unique season, but this team, I thought, John, and maybe you'll agree or not, that this was a better constructed team at the end of this year than the team that went to the World Series last year.
Oh, yes, absolutely. In fact, by the end of the year, they had a bench. Cashman had a terrific year before the year began and then during the year when he beefed up the team. So they had a better bench. What they have to do, Peter, this is everybody knows this. It's so obvious. They got to go to work on their bullpen.
Yeah, and they've had a capacity to find a bullpen. And even when you have to sort of patch the tire, as Cashman says occasionally during the season, he went out and got Bednar and Duvall, and certainly Bednar, showed that he could be their closer next year, and I'm sure he will be. And they've been able to find relief arms and put together a good bullpen, and I have no doubt that they'll be able to do that again. And that's not an area that they spend a lot of money in either, because you'd anticipate Devin Williams is going into free agency. I don't think he's coming back, and he's probably going to get a multi-year contract somewhere. The Yankees don't pay relievers top dollars anymore. They find them. They find the Clay Holmeses and guys like that, the Fernando Cruzes, and they can build a bullpen that way. I'd like to see them have another left-handed pitcher other than Tim Hill in there too. I think that in some ways they go in there thinking their right-handers can nullify left-handers because they have such swing and miss, and that's true. But when you see how the Blue Jays can match up lefties, even nondescript lefties against the Yankees lefties in their lineup, I think that makes a huge difference in postseason.
Well, I'm a great believer that a bullpen has to have 2 lefties at least, because you want a lefty against a lefty at a big time. And I never believe a manager, and I've heard a million of them say, no, we don't have a lefty, but we have righties that can get out lefties. Now, when a lefty sees a lefty with a great breaking ball going down and away, a right-hander can't duplicate that. So other items we have to talk about, we'll have to wait just a moment because we're going to break and hear some commercial messages. And then we'll get back with Pete Caldera of the Bergen Record here on 77 WABC.
77 scores again.
This is the John Sterling Show. Now, here's John Sterling.
Jonas, was that Anthony doing Reagan? He was. Not bad, Reagan. Oh, okay. I should tell you, behind the glass, Vincent Lospinoso, Jonas Jackson, and Elias Raff. That's my threesome today, and they're here every Saturday, and they're great. They're great. Well, we're on the phone with Pete Caldera. How many years have you been on the Yankee beat?
It's over 20. I came, I switched from the Mets in mid-year of 2003. I think I showed up about a week after Aaron Boone came via trade from Cincinnati, right? I think that it was right around that time.
Yeah, sure, 2003.
Yeah.
Because then, as you know, later in the 11th inning, Boone hit one.
Yes, he did. And the rest is history.
Are you surprised very much by Milwaukee? They're the best record in the major leagues. They're playing the final game against the Cubs tonight.
Okay.
And what is wrong?
I can hear you, John. You were mentioning about Milwaukee. I am surprised. You know, it's funny. You get sort of a myopic view of baseball when you're covering one team for 162 and playoffs and spring training before that. But yeah, I mean, Milwaukee's not a team that I thought was even looked like a playoff team going into the season. And then of course you saw what the Yankees did to them that first weekend of the regular season, and of course, they turn it around. I think they've got a terrific manager, obviously, and it's going to be very interesting to watch this Game 5 tonight. I don't know if it's going to go 15 innings like the night before, but that was a fascinating game to watch too between Seattle and Detroit.
Terrific! Yeah. Both men came in inning after inning after. I don't think I would have taken Skubal out, but that's, I don't believe in all that, but I guess you have to believe in it because that's what they're doing. Why didn't Kerkering throw to first base?
Yeah, the catcher was pointing right there too. I just think he had a panic moment right there too. I mean, the ball comes back to him, he loses the handle immediately, and then the play is sort of right in front of him, just the play that he sees, and I think it was just a panic mode that you forget you got the force there, and you pick the ball up and throw it to first base, and you probably get the guy by 10 feet. But
yes, that's why in all the replays I kept looking, Peter, at Kerkering and where the runner was. Yes, if he throws to first base, they have him by a few feet. It's kind of easy, and who knows what happens in that game. Philadelphia, their big guys didn't hit. People wonder why. It happens all the time in big games. And in playoffs and World Series games. The reason is because you're facing the very best pitchers on the very best teams. And so I'm never surprised when a guy goes, 2 for 20 in the playoffs. That happens all the time.
Yeah, and, you saw it, some of that in some of the surprising things in the Yankee-Toronto series where, George Springer just destroyed the Yankees during the regular season, especially in Toronto. Springer didn't have a big playoff, but of course Guerrero does, and then the part-time players, guys like Lucas and Schneider, they couldn't get Ernie Clement out. Those guys were the guys that stepped up and really made a difference.
I have a good story about Ernie Clement, who is now, as Susan and I would mention, he's in the family. Susan's in the Toronto clubhouse, and she goes over to Ernie Clement and introduces herself. And she said, Ernie, and he said, oh, Miss Waldman. Oh, he said, I'm from Rochester, and I've listened to you and Mr. Sterling for years. So Ernie Clement is now in the family,
Oh, wonderful.
And he did play very well. Last couple of years he's played well, and he's hit against the Yankees.
Yeah, and a versatile defensive guy, and you could put him anywhere in the infield basically, and not have to worry. And the fact that he's one of these bat to ball guys that just ruin the Yankees. I thought Cam Schlittler, he strikes out 12 Red Sox in that marvelous Game 3 performance in the wild card to clinch that. I thought he pitched as good a game, just pitched from a pitching standpoint, he was very much a difference in that game, but he only strikes out 2 because that's what the Toronto Blue Jays do. They're a contact team and they make pitchers work. But Cam was one double play ball away that wasn't made from getting out of there in a 2-1 game.
Yes, absolutely. It's interesting that you say, and other people do too, that Toronto puts the bat on the ball. They have very good at bats, et cetera, et cetera. Now, the funny thing is, their ballpark, now you know this because you've been there so much, but Rogers Center, whoa, what a home run ballpark. If you hit it, the ball flies, and it doesn't matter if the roof is open or closed. And yet, and yet they had all the success putting the ball in play. And that's one thing I'd like the Yankees to do a little more. Put the ball in play.
Yeah. But their historically their DNA is, power pitching, power hitting, power left-handed hitting especially. And I mean, listen, I'd love for them to re-sign Bellinger. I think he's that kind of player.
Go
strike out, put the ball in play, and helps you anywhere you put him on the field defensively. I mean, that's going to be a big, re-sign guy in the off season. Although his free agent market and his leverage is better than it's ever been. This will be his third time in free agency, and he's never had a more leverage than he does right now. But he's got to be priority number one for the Yankees.
Oh, he absolutely. And someone has written, I read this somewhere, and when you think about it, it's really true. The Mets would like a guy like Bellinger because he can play center field. I would re-sign Grisham. I think he's a terrific center fielder. You could say, well, I don't know if he's going to hit 30 home runs again. What are your thoughts about Grisham?
Yeah, from a guy who was basically buried on the bench last year and through the postseason to have the year he did, he's 29, going into free agency. I guess when you look at the defensive metrics, they're not as kind to him as what you see with the naked eye. There's that he can go get any ball that's hit to him and do it like he's just brushing his teeth or something. It's just it's just so nonchalant but he's certainly is a player that helped them get to where they got to this year. I wonder, I would absolutely pursue Grisham. I don't know what his market would be. I'm sure he's obviously put himself in play for a multi-year deal right now, John. And if they offer him the qualifier, maybe that interests him in a big 1-year guarantee that's probably over $20 million. But he could probably make more than that on a multi-year deal. But I'd be interested to see if they actually do re-sign both Bellinger and Grisham, what becomes of Jason Dominguez now.
That's a good point. In other words, they'd have to be sure that Dominguez is going to take the next step up and maybe hit a little bit better against lefties. But I don't know if they're going to sign Grisham. I just feel if a guy plays great center field and hits 30 home runs, but I agree with you. This is his chance. He not only was on the bench for the Yankees, since he started playing, he's been on the bench. And this year was his breakout year. A player that I said on the show that I wanted before the trade deadline was Ryan McMahon. And I know he didn't hit a whole lot, although in the whole year he hit 20 home runs. So with the Yankee right field, you figure this is another guy who's going to hit 20 home runs. But Ryan McMahon played a great third base.
He made, I thought, as big a difference as anyone in their second half because he stabilized what had been a very shaky defense in that on the left side of the infield, and I think that his defense was invaluable to them, and I think it also gave them a confidence too. Gave the pitching staff certainly a confidence that, especially with the left-handers that they have, Fried and Rodon, if you're inducing a lot of left side ground balls, he's just going to get them, and he's going to make the difficult play too. So, right, if he could hit 240 and run into 25 to 30 home runs, I got to think that and he plays every day, his home run totals at Yankee Stadium will increase, just by virtue of playing 80 home games there. That you could get more out of McMahon than you did, this season. And plus, John, I think the guy, coming from Colorado, you wondered, how's he going to react in big games? He never really played down the stretch in a pennant race, let alone one in New York City. Thought he handled everything well and enjoyed being a Yankee. So he's going to be a good one, I think.
Oh, absolutely. One final question for you, Peter. What do the Yankees do with Volpe?
Yeah, I think you got to go into 2026 thinking that there are no guarantees at this position. Now, I don't know if that means importing someone else who can play the position. I think you could make do going into spring training with Caballero, Volpe, and a healthy Oswaldo Cabrera, coming back from that ankle injury, and just sort of sorting it out in spring training and just going with your best option. I think at this point, especially after the postseason kind of reinforced some of the worst negatives you saw of Volpe's offensive game during the season, is that there have to be no guarantees. You can't just roll him out there next year and expect him to be your everyday shortstop. I think in their perfect will, especially when you talk to Aaron Boone, he believes their best team is with a healthy and Anthony Volpe out there who can be productive and likes the glove overall and everything. But I think you got to go into next year with just no guarantees and open the position up.
Yeah, I would like to see him stop swinging so hard and use right field, because he's got power. Use right field, the ball some will go out. So, Peter,
home run off Crochet, perfect example.
Peter, thank you for coming on the show, and as you know, you'll be on many times, and I instruct you now to get a dinner together with the boys.
That sounds good.
Okay. Thank you. Upcoming is Vinny Madunio, who is going to have a great show for you. I'll see you next Saturday. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for listening to The John Sterling Show. You can hear The John Sterling Show Saturdays at 4 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder,
What the heck is going on here?
The following is a paid political announcement.
Lifelong Democrat Diana Florence served for 25 years as a Manhattan prosecutor under DA Robert Morgenthau. She put criminals away, stood up for victims, and protected our streets. Now, Diana is challenging failed Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg as an independent because it's time for a DA who fights for our families, not criminals. That's why Diana has won the support of organized labor, like the steam fitters, plumbers, and ironworkers, everyday New Yorkers who want a DA they can trust. Manhattan needs a DA who will do the job, prosecute crime. That's Diana Florence. Under Alvin Bragg, crime is up and prosecutions are down. Bragg doesn't prosecute crime. He plays partisan politics. Bragg failed to protect women and failed to protect workers. As a prosecutor, Diana Florence won groundbreaking convictions, fighting against corruption, domestic violence, wage left, and deadly working conditions. She's always been a partner of unions, community groups, and to cops like us. For Manhattan District Attorney, vote for Diana Florence. Diana4DA.com. Paid for by Diana for Manhattan DA.